And then Duggan, of course, with TCU. And look, TCU, I don't think anyone was talking about Duggan in the Heisman conversation until got later into the season.
To the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
And I said this before, sometimes with these awards, whether it be Coach of the Year, whether it be Player of the Year, whether it be the Heisman, whether it be the Doak Walker Award. I know you're a big fan of that one. Yeah. But a lot of times, sometimes what's unfortunate is these awards, and even going back to the year that you were the runner-up, sometimes it's not about the most deserved. It's about the best storyline. And Duggan was one of the best storylines just because of the fact that, oh man, TCU, the underdog, the little engine that could, right? Like they just keep on going.
He was a backup quarterback.
He was. I mean,
he wasn't even a starting quarterback.
He wasn't bad. I'm not trying to downplay, but I think he's a storyline.
That's a great story.
Yeah. The Hail Mary, going back to when you hate to bring it back to you again, sorry, but that Hail Mary was a great storyline. That's the problem I have with a lot of these awards at times is it's never about the best coach or the best players.
Doug Flutie looked like a lot of the voters.
Yep.
Coach of your size.
You can make arguments about that in today's football, but even more so back
5'9", 5'10". Oh, no, that looks like me. I could do it, Dougie. It's all about the stories. Not about the talent only or who's the most deserving.
No, and you're right. And it's, for instance, even in like Coach of the Year conversations, for instance, like the coach of Illinois right now, why am I drawing a blank?
Bielema.
Bielema. For a while, if he gets Big Ten Coach of the Year and stuff like that, it's not because he's the best coach in the Big Ten. I mean, honestly, if we're doing the best, it should either be Ryan Day or even Harbaugh every single year. But sometimes we get bored with giving. I mean, Urban Meyer won it once at his time at Ohio State, correct? Like, I mean, they and Urban Meyer was the best.
Like when Pat Riley was with the Lakers, he was like, wow, what do I have to do?
So
you got all that talent. It's not you.
So how can you have a Coach of the Year award but not give it to the best coach every single year? Like, that's what I'm saying. Same thing with the Heisman, same thing. It's storyline. And Caleb Williams, to be fair to him, he checked off a lot of storyline boxes and he checked off a lot of individual statistical achievements that kind of backed it up. CJ Stroud would have won it, in my opinion, had they beat, that team up north, of course. That was, of course, the big black eye on the resume for him. And then Stetson Bennett, I don't. Okay, but to be fair there too, if we were Georgia fans, if you were a former Georgia Bulldog and me and you were doing this show over in Georgia somewhere, we would be saying, how could we be the best team in college football the last 2 years and not have our quarterback be a finalist at all, especially in today's football? So I get that he's there, but at the same time, it's like it felt forced more than anything. I think you could have put receivers. There was some, running backs. There's some other star players that you could have put up there instead of another quarterback, in my opinion.
There's a sophomore wide receiver at Ohio State that could have easily been there.
Good.
Pretty good.
I got that from you, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, he could have been there. And Marvin Harrison Jr., who we're talking about, just as well didn't. He also reminded me of, the Coach of the Year. Why not Kirby Smart? I mean, he won national championship last year. Graduates, 3/4 of his defense, yet the team is undefeated again this year. They weren't undefeated last year. They was national champion last year, but they're undefeated. I think the coach deserves some recognition.
Yep.
As Coach of the Year. I mean, not that, the National Coach of the Year as TCU's coach. Again, like you said, that's a better story. Underdog who thought TCU was going undefeated throughout the regular season. No, but they didn't. But, they lost in the Big 12, championship game. But by that time, they had already pretty much was going to give, Sonny Dykes, the award.
Yep.
Not that he's not deserving of it.
But it's the storyline now. Who would have thought that TCU would be here? Well, did he do a better coaching job than even, obviously Ryan Day, again, that Michigan loss, that's what took the Heisman Coach of the Year, all that other stuff away. But, Harbaugh, we don't have to praise them. We don't have to give them any credit. But, we didn't think he could do it last year, and then he followed it up with another back-to-back run where he gets a win over that team up north and back-to-back Big Ten championships. You can have the conversation about him as much as it pains us.
What about Deion Sanders?
And Deion Sanders.
Being the Coach of the Year.
And I'm not trying to be funny here. Again,
they would say, well, that's a FBS. That's not the Power 5.
And that's what I mean. Not just.
But even in his weight class, I don't know.
I mean, the second he started pulling away top recruits from some of the big dogs like the Bamas and the Ohio States of the world. Which, by the way, if he's doing that at a school with barely any resources, what's he going to do at Colorado? We'll get to that in a moment. I don't want to
we had a lot to talk about that later on.
But man, there's a lot. I didn't think with any college football games yesterday. I'm like, I don't know if there's much college football to talk about today. Oh, but there is. We're going to be getting into the Browns Bengals. I already got a note. You guys talk about Browns, but it's an hour and a half show, folks. Relax. There's a lot that happened in college football. Keith Byars last week was the honorary captain for the Philadelphia Eagles as the Eagles hosted the Titans. So Kev Nash and I, we got to host the Selection Sunday show out here in live time. Got to see the top 4 teams, the final 4 teams, if you will, announced. And it kind of went down how we expected. I think, it was kind of interesting, people trying to push the likes of an Alabama and others, but I think we were all pretty confident other than the matchup.
They was trying to get ratings.
Yeah, trying to get ratings. I always said
eyeballs on the screen.
We're all falling for it. I don't think Alabama ever had a realistic shot of making it into the top 4, but the networks know, hey, we can't just sit there and say, well, we know our final 4 already. Don't tune in tomorrow. They have to continue to feed. That's why they brought Nick Saban on at halftime.
On every network that would have it.
And by the way, people got mad at him Nick Saban for doing that. I'm like, no, actually, I wasn't mad at him at all. I think that was smart. I think that if you're Ryan Day and you're some of these other coaches, we talked about this even going back to Urban Meyer's time at Ohio State, that they should be pandering to the committee as well. They should be kind of, smoking that flame a little bit too. They should be kind of fanning that flame too, as far as trying to get attention on their program. Look,
I didn't see the show because I was in Philadelphia for the Eagles.
Yep.
But I bet you they didn't show other coaches or interview other coaches and get their thoughts on. Maybe, two coaches from the Big Ten that's not in the college football opportunity.
Oh, yeah. He didn't do it in the for instance, James Franklin. Like, James Franklin's a 2-loss team, 2 losses to the top 2 teams in the Big Ten in Ohio State and in Michigan, of course.
But I was also thinking of lesser teams. Let's ask Indiana's head coach, who does he think, should deserve to be in the college football playoff? But I guess if they do that, will they end up getting all conference biases? Or just ask the question, outside of your team in your conference, what team do you think from the ACC is deserving? If so, or from the Big Ten is deserving? You ask the SEC coach that, and you ask the Big Ten coach the same question. Other than your conference teams, who else do you think is deserving to be in the college football playoffs? Based on their season, or who to look out for, next year and all that stuff. That would add value. I'm not trying to be the producer of that show, but that would add value to their opinions, other than getting Nick Saban on there and getting him to, sell his program.
Yeah. Well,
because recruits are seeing that too.
And I think, and by the way, Nick Saban's very smart right now at this point. That's why he's doing that doesn't seem like his personality to do those Aflac commercials, but he knows, hey, these commercials are going to run an awful lot. That's going to be a lot of living rooms that he is appearing in just by being on TV alone in these commercials during the season and the off season. But what I found interesting is that it was the Big Ten championship game on Fox. It was the game on Fox that he, of course, was on at halftime of the Big Ten championship game. And I'm like, why is Fox, who just spent billions of dollars to get the Big Ten
in prime time,
having the SEC coach on? And then on the flip side, ESPN, who just bought the SEC, to be fair, they had Ryan Day on with Pat McAfee and Game Day during the day, which Game Day is a little bit more balanced in their coverage, so that's not that surprising. I was surprised Fox had Nick Saban on, especially when the Big Ten, that's your product, and really you bringing on Nick Saban's almost hurting your product, because if that stuff does work. Now, I did talk to a couple college football playoff reporters, Heather Dinich and Jason Fitz and some others during the week. I asked Heather and Jason just how much impact does that have? And they said both of them had the same answer as far as, well, it has an impact because they're visually being seen and they're visually being heard. But technically by that point, they're making points that the committee has either A, already considered, or B, has already debunked as far as any of the theories that they have. It doesn't hurt, but they also said it's not like it's helping. It's not like it would have tipped the scales. No one would have said, the committee would not have come out and said, we had Ohio State at 4, but Nick Saban made such a good argument at halftime of the Big Ten championship game that we went ahead and gave him the 4 spot. Yeah.
My vote.
So I was like, I agree with that. But again, it doesn't hurt as far as that's concerned. But so Selection Sunday show last week, it wasn't surprising. I thought that they would have tried to force feed us that Ohio State-Michigan rematch in the semifinal. What was your 4? I think you had in your final 4, you had Michigan 2, obviously, and Ohio State 3. Were you surprised? It doesn't matter. The top 4 were the top 4 no matter what. But were you surprised that they didn't try to force feed us a rematch of the Big Ten championship or the Ohio State-Michigan game?
A little bit. That way they would eliminate one of the Big Ten teams, in the final, or guarantee a Big Ten team.
Yep.
In the final. Depends on, which lens, you're looking at it through. But I think, dollar-wise, Ohio State Michigan was the most watched college football game, in all of football, this past year. And they know why waste that rating opportunity on the semifinal. If Ohio State and Michigan both win, and I think it's a possibility. Imagine with the value and the eyeballs and the ad revenue and everything, the retention. You know, we already know Ohio State Michigan is the best rivalry in all of sports, but it's never been played for a national championship ever in the history, the 100+ history of the Ohio State Michigan game. It's never been played for a national championship. It's been played for Big Ten championship. It's been played for to go and be considered Big Ten champions. I mean national champions. But for that one game, oh my gosh, what would that look like? L.A. you know, I don't know how I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna probably end up being there. If Ohio State Michigan is in the final, I would probably be there. It's gonna and I wouldn't be upset about it.
I think many had
But
anticipated.
I had to be somewhat upset because that meant Michigan won. I can never cheer for them.
So, as we sit here right now, it's interesting because I think we had anticipated an Ohio State Georgia, matchup in the college football playoff, but I think we all had envisioned it coming into the season as the 1-2 in the national championship game. Now it's the 1-4. Now there's a lot of overlapping parallels back from 2014 when Ohio State would, get in at the 4 seed and go on to win it all as the national champion. They beat Bama in the first round, of course, then they go on to beat Oregon. Like, I don't really get into all those crossover parallels from something that was 8 years ago. This is about who Ohio State is this year and who Georgia is this year. Georgia, to me, is very similar to that team up north. I think they're both physical up front, offensive, defensive line. They can run the football. They have capable quarterback play, obviously a Heisman finalist in Stetson Bennett. And then they've been the defending national champions. They've played in these big games before. Ohio State, when you talk about Ohio State, Georgia, just when you saw that pop up on the screen, your initial takeaway was what?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you hate to go back in history sometimes, but I think last year with Alabama beating Georgia, and Alabama Alabama got to go from 3-1, and that left Michigan number 2, and Cincinnati was number 4, and then they had a rematch of the SEC championship game in the national championship. So I think an argument could have been made this year with Michigan beating Ohio State and winning the Big Ten. They should have jumped Georgia for the number 1 seed, because I know you said the 4 doesn't matter. It does matter, because if Michigan would have jumped them, because they had a better win throughout the season over Georgia. I mean, as far as a top-rated team, that should have been enough momentum to catapult Michigan to number 1, leave Ohio State number 4. I mean, leave Ohio State number 4. Now Ohio State Michigan is playing in the rematch game in the semifinal in Atlanta, as opposed to
it's an away game, yeah.
As opposed to Georgia being number 2, having to go to Arizona to play TCU in Arizona. That's more of a balance. Where Ohio State going being a number 4 seed, playing Georgia in Atlanta, Buckeye faithful going to travel well, but it doesn't really disrupt. Atlanta. I mean, the Bulldogs don't have to get on the plane to fly to Atlanta. They're going to take a bus. So it's going to be similar to a home game and their home fans and everything else, as far as they've already bought up a lot of their hotels, Airbnb, and all that stuff. It's so much easier. Whereas the Ohio State fan has to go to all this inconvenience. I haven't made up my mind if I'm going or not, but if I do go, I don't necessarily have to worry about hotels, because my mother was from Georgia, so I have a ton of family in Atlanta, and you're from Dayton. Everybody from Dayton knows people in Georgia and Atlanta. So I have a place to lay my head. I'm not, worried about that. There's a lot of Daytonians in Atlanta, but I think that's a little bit of the bias where the SEC, so many bowl games down south, they travel the least, because the number 1 seed gets the closest venue, to where you are. So it does matter who's the number 1 seed, and whatnot. But I don't, that's just fodder to talk about now. Come December 31st, Buckeyes better be ready to play football. I don't care where it's at, whether it's in Atlanta, Arizona. If you're not ready to play football, same results will happen. And if you are ready to play football, good things will happen. And I believe the Buckeyes can go down to Atlanta in the Peach Bowl and win against their opponent, whoever it is. And we know it's Georgia, so it doesn't matter. We play the way we're capable of playing. We can beat Georgia. We should beat Georgia if we play up to our capabilities. And that is the biggest word in the dictionary is if. If we have the ability, we have the potential to, but if we don't, and it starts with Ryan Day and Knowles and Kevin Wilson and our game plan. You don't just beat them on that night. You start to beating them now. There's every waking moment for the coaching staff and is about this game. And then when you're dreaming, when you're asleep, you be dreaming about what your game plans and how you're going to get preparation. So if we're not prepared, we don't have a shot. We have no reason not to be prepared. So preparation-wise, we have to do that. We still have another 2 weeks for the game. I don't know what the health of our team will be at that time, but it doesn't matter. We're going to have at least 22 guys healthy, enough to start the game and beyond. So everyone is going to take to go down there and win that game. And I believe, I know I'm getting a couple weeks ahead, but I believe we're going to win that game. I really do, because everybody's counting us out, don't have a chance, and I believe we're going to win that game.
Yeah, it's something about that.
I got a feeling that we'll win.
Something about that underdog mentality that always seems to go well for the Buckeyes. That's for sure. All right, Justin Kenner, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byars with you here live at Frickers here in Miamisburg. We opened up, of course, reaction to all things college football. By the way, for those out and about driving around listening, you can also catch the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live in video form on the Justin Kenner Show Facebook page and on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Go and check it out there. Follow the show page. Follow and subscribe to the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel as well. 518-1410, that's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Brandon Williams back in the WING studios. If you give the studio a call, he'll patch you through to us, and you'll be able to jump in on the conversation out here as well. Fumble. You
little chicken
little chicken noodle soup fumble here live at Frickers. All right, folks. Joe Burrow for 4 against the Cleveland Browns. That's what can he put an end to that? I talked about this on my show earlier in the week. People are talking about the fact that Joe Burrow owns the Chiefs the way the Browns own him, and I put an end to that theory earlier in the week as well. We'll talk about that. But can Joe Burrow put an end to the Browns' dominance over the Bengals since he was drafted back in 2020. We'll talk about that on the other side. More of the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live here from Frickers in Miamisburg and on the Justin Kenner Show Facebook page on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. Excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply today. Online at CordellTransportation.com. Driven to succeed.
Tackle any project with our variety of Craig woodworking solutions at Menards. From joining to cutting to cabinet hardware installation, Craig has the tools you need. The Craig Pocket Hole Jig is easy to use and sets up fast. Its GripMax anti-slip technology holds material in place to prevent shift while drilling. Whether you're a beginner DIYer or a professional woodworker, Craig has the tools to help you with any task. Save big money on Craig products, now at Menards.
Season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Living with metastatic breast cancer can be overwhelming.
When I received my diagnosis, I didn't need anyone to tell me I was strong. What I needed was more time.
Verzenio, abemaciclib, 150 milligram tablets plus fulvestrant is for HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer that has progressed after hormone therapy. In a clinical study, women taking Verzenio in combination with fulvestrant lived significantly longer for a median of 46.7 months versus 37.3 months on fulvestrant alone. Diarrhea is common, may be severe, or cause dehydration or infection. At the first sign, call your doctor, start an antidiarrheal, and drink fluids. Before taking Verzenio, tell your doctor about any fever, chills, or other signs of infection. Verzenio may cause low white blood cell counts, which may cause serious infection that can lead to death. Life-threatening lung inflammation can occur. Tell your doctor about any new or worsening trouble breathing, cough, or chest pain. Serious liver problems can happen. Symptoms include fatigue, appetite loss, stomach pain, and bleeding or bruising. Blood clots that can lead to death have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, and rapid breathing or heart rate. Common side effects include nausea, infections, low blood cells and platelets, decreased appetite, headache, abdominal pain, fatigue, vomiting, and hair thinning or loss. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions and medications you take, and if you're nursing, pregnant, or plan to be pregnant.
Strength is one thing. The chance to spend more time with the people I love, that's everything.
With Verzenio, more time is possible. Ask your doctor if Verzenio is right for you and visit Verzenio.com or 1-844-837-9364. Verzenio is available by prescription only.
Yeah, we're replacing the carpets too, so don't worry about that.
No fresh powder yet, but Dan's Ski Lodge has an avalanche of projects.
Those 4 rooms are getting hot tubs.
He needs a staff engineer to navigate a flurry of new requests.
And all of those will be fully ADA accessible.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
They're big, and they're coming for you. Tax refund advance loans at Jackson Hewitt, up to $4,500. That's big. Like our tax refund advance can beat up their tax refund advance kind of big. Up to $4,500 at Jackson Hewitt. Book your appointment today and get details at jacksonhewitt.com. You're going to need a bigger wallet. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want straight talk, the facts about Orgovix.
Orgovix Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovix is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovix may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovix can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovix treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovix may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you.
Go with Orgovix. Ask your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com.
Hi there, I'm your host, Dog, filling in for the human who's normally here and bringing you the smells and sounds of the holidays, courtesy of Beggin' Dog Treats.
We wish you a begging Christmas. We wish you a begging Christmas. Dog rest ye merry Doberman, let begging you acquire. Deck the halls with strips of begging. Arf, 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 arf.
Remember, for bacon-loving dog excitement this holiday,
It's begging!
Paying too much for wireless and getting lousy customer service? With Red Pocket Mobile, you get the same coverage and top-tier customer service for lots less. Get unlimited talk, text, and data for as low as $10 a month. Red Pocket Mobile saves customers an average of $600 a year. You don't even have to leave your house to switch. Simply go to redpocket.com. Right now, during their extended Black Friday sale, ditch your old carrier and get a new iPhone on Red Pocket. Go to redpocket.com. That's redpocket.com. Conditions apply.
All sports, all the time. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
1, 2, 3.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Johnson Kennedy, Byars live here at Purchase in Miamisburg. I'm Johnson Kennedy, Byars randomly back in the WING studio.
Give him a call. You'll be able to jump in the conversation. 518-1410, 518-1410, the number that you can call and jump in that way. Okay,
so really before we move on to the NFL, Keith, we're talking during you or me? Oh, that's you. Okay. But during the commercial break, we were talking about the transfer portal and the numbers that are starting to accumulate in that already. I mean, in the first week, in the first day, 1,000 players have entered the portal in day one. In day one. Portal. So there was a tweet from earlier in the week that came out from
Coach J.R. Sandlin. Coach J.R. Sandlin, Keith,
the director of player personnel and recruiting for Oklahoma. So he went ahead and put out this graphic, just kind of, as a message to all players out there that sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side. Now, we hear that all the time when it comes to the transfer portal. But when you hear
the staggering numbers, Keith, this is what really gets people. It's not the amount of people that enter the transfer portal. It's the amount of people that end up not finding a new home.
Like that.
You know what I mean? Like it's one thing if every player that leaves the portal ends up finding a better situation, but that's not always the case. So back in 2019, 2020, Keith, 4,757
prospects entered the portal. How many do you think of those 4,700 found a new home?
Out of 4,700 kids, I'm going to say 60%.
1,788.
Out of 47.
Out of 47. That's not 60%. That's about 40%. 38%. Right.
In 2020, 2021, Keith,
6,250 football prospects entered the portal. How many of the
6,200 do you think found
home? 6,200 players entered the portal. How many do you think found it?
I was the 30th first time. I'm maybe they chose a little wiser and went 45%, a little less than 50.
So 9% less than 50. So 2,500 found a new home. 41% of the prospects who entered the portal in 2020, 2021. So in 2021, 2022, Keith, 8,200 players entered the portal. Now this isn't adding up in the last couple. This is just after last football season. 8,200 entered the portal, Keith, and I won't make you guess this one, but 3,300. That means 5,000 players who went to the portal last year. Never found home. And so they did the math. So again, this is Coach J.R. Sandlin. He is the director of player personnel and recruiting at Homa. Put up this graphic just obviously to kind of for his program. For all out there. Yep, we're good. All right. Thank you. So he said that 41% of prospects over the last 3 years who entered the portal, Keith, found a new home. That's staggering to me. So he said in the last 3 years, close to 20,000 football prospects entered the portal, and of the 20,000, only 7,600 found a new home. So in day one, so 600 players that entered the portal on day one. I don't know what the numbers over 2,000. We sit here right now,
counting.
But on day one of the portal, jumping to 1,000, we already know that 600 based on the averages over the last 3 years when the portal really took off. 600 players on day one, already over 1,000 players as we sit here right now, probably have already left their teams and will not find a new home.
Yeah, I mean, we even have players that are going to other schools that are already in the college football playoffs. That's it. Georgia has a player. State has a player. Michigan has players. That is I guess it's. I was going to say the new wave, but it is the new wave. It is the new wave of college football.
I fixed the echo, folks. Sorry about that. Anyways, continue.
Yes, I mean, but I'm trying to figure out. You get excited about National Signing Day. You know, now we have 2 National Signing Days. One in the winter, one coming up here in December, and another one in February. You're thinking, okay, this person, you get to follow this player for the next 3 to 4 years of his career. Now we're going to still be excited about those 2 days, but now the day after the regular season, you start looking at that day. Okay, look at the portal. And we've said for, last couple of years now, that college coaches have to continue to recruit their players. Ryan Day came out before the season and said, hey, we're going to need about $13 million to keep our current roster, for the NIL, the NIL deals, the NIL deals. Of our current roster, we're going to need at least $13 million, not to mention how much money we're going to need to recruit new guys in here. I mean, and so, we're still in the infancy stage of the NIL to really get an idea with, how's it going to look over the next 3 to 4 years. And then you're going to have somewhat an idea of like, what does it cost to keep a player? What's it going to cost to get a player? And when a player transfers, NIL is going to be a part of opportunities. If I leave this school and go here, there, I have more of a chance to, to market myself and just better opportunities. I mean, you look at the quarterback at Texas, it was at Ohio State, Quinn Ewers.
Yep.
When he came to Ohio State, and went through the infancy of the NIL. I mean, then he gets a new car, at Ohio State. He had already signed a 3-year, once he got there, he signed a 3-year exclusive deal for his autograph that was worth $1 million. He had a chicken restaurant in Texas that signed him into an endorsement deal, and he played one series, about 3 snaps at Ohio State and mop-up duty. Transfers goes in the portal in November, was starting quarterback at Texas this year. How much more did he get when he went back home? So he did well coming to Ohio State. How much more did he do once he went to Texas, earned his starting quarterback job? I bet you those numbers in Texas and where his home state probably went very, very, very well for him. And his future is still looking, bright. It's still on the upswing. I think next year is going to be even better than this year was for him. And you're going to get more and more players like that, so transferring in the portal for a bigger, better deal. I mean, that was, when I saw a little bit of Texas, I'm like, man, that could be a quarterback of the future at Ohio State. Even though I like Kyle McCord, what little bit I've seen, and Devin Brown, and I don't know who else is going to come in here. What do we know about C.J. Stroud? Other than what we've seen a little bit, heard about him, we didn't know.
We did that with Jackson Smith. Sorry, with Justin Fields. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had quite a few seasons recently where we had a lot of question marks about the quarterback coming in. I mean, heck.
And the transfer portal's been good, that's too.
It's been good. I mean, Justin Fields a prime example, but I mean, we did this actually.
We did let a Heisman Trophy winner go, but
we got 1 year of Dwayne Haskins. We had 2 years of Justin Fields, but that first year of Justin Fields, we don't know. I mean, actually, the group that's here with me today, we were live at that game. We got to see Justin Fields' first game against Florida Atlantic. It was 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. He had already thrown for over 200 plus yards, and we're like, okay, he's gonna do well.
He's gonna be pretty good.
C.J. Stroud, of course. Remember his first game? It was on the road. It was a Thursday night game at Minnesota. Remember, it wasn't the smoothest. It wasn't the greatest game for him, and everyone was already panicking. And then they went on to have a great season, of course. So same thing this year. But yeah, a lot of question marks. So someone just asked. Lamar Shelley said, "What's KB's take on the Jackson Smith and Jigba situation?" We were talking about that a little bit ago. Did you know that Jackson Smith and Jigba? We're talking about NIL money. He made $1.7 million this year. He is the highest paid in NIL in college football this season. He is the highest paid non-quarterback on the NIL total list. The only players ahead of him are Bryce Young at Alabama, who made $3.2 million, C.J. Stroud $2.5 million, Caleb Williams, the Heisman winner from last night, $2.4 million, and then Spencer Rattler, who went to South Carolina, who he had a very good second half of the season, but doesn't matter. SEC, he just means more over there, right? So, but. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the highest paid non-quarterback in college football as far as NIL is concerned with 1.7. Is that why you also believe the criticism for him has been kind of amped up after the news he announced he's just going to opt out of the playoffs and just focus on the NFL? Back in the day, I don't fault him for that, but when you're making this kind of money, that's where you open the door to being criticized more because you're no longer a college kid. You're no longer a student athlete. You're a millionaire kid that's deciding on the money that was invested into you. You're just not going to play in the championships. That's kind of I understand where people are coming from, I guess.
Well, I mean, I ain't gonna say I don't believe I understand it, but I understand why they saying it. Don't agree with why.
Well, there's some I understand why some other people come with it. Let's be clear.
But which is a testament to Ohio State. I talked to Ryan Day this offseason, and we were talking about some of how the impact of NIL was going to come and with early projections.
You talked with who?
Ryan Day.
With Ryan Day about it, yeah.
Yes, and that's why Ohio State should always be a recruiting tool, because if you're Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't really play much this year, and you're the number one non-quarterback guy on the list, that means Ohio State is everywhere. A lot of eyeballs, and they're looking for not just hey, I know Jackson Smith and Jigba, they're looking for relationships. With you, the companies that he's associated with. So it will be there a long time. That's what Ohio State has over so many other schools. I mean, I haven't scored a touchdown at Ohio State since 1985. Yet, my influence and my associate with Ohio State is going to last me a lifetime. I always, be connected, being a Buckeye. That means more than, Bo Jackson went to Auburn. Nobody really, they don't even think about him in Auburn. But Keith Byars, you think of Ohio State. Archie Griffin, you think of Ohio State. Ted Ginn, think of Ohio State. Joey Bosa, the Bosa family, think of Ohio State. That's a brand that goes beyond your pro career and beyond your 4 years at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So Jackson Smith and Jigba is always going to be a Buckeye. This is a moment of time. He got hurt, and hopefully he goes on to have a tremendous career. But Chris Olave is from California, but he's a Buckeye. He's in New Orleans now. He's a Buckeye. And now, I don't know what those numbers were, but I know Chris Olave last year, he was up there too for the non-quarterback, NIL deal. So Garrett Wilson, I mean, these guys. So that's why another reason why Ohio State is a good college to come to, no matter if you're from Ohio, because it's a international brand. So that if you're from California, like Chris Olave, he can always go back to his hometown, but it's Buckeyes in Southern
I'm gonna
California,
move across the
all
country.
over the place,
It's gonna be worth it.
all over the world.
Money and brand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the NIL is going to be good for Ohio State because we got the best fans, and and not just because I used to all the player. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. Friday night before the Michigan game, I went to dinner with some friends, and I was there, Archie Griffin was there, Ted Ginn was there, Marcus Hall, and Troy Smith.
Yep.
And Santonio Holmes. So all us, and as well as some other folks.
That's quite a dinner table,
That's
right there.
quite a dinner table. I mean, you're talking about players that played at Ohio State in the 70s, 80s, and 2000s just getting together on a Friday night. You don't see that in any other college. You just simply don't.
All right, Justin Kinner, Keith Byars live here on 1410 ESPN Radio, live at Frickers here in Miamisburg. It's a Sunday morning tailgate show. Keith, this is interesting. Richard Boyd sends this in, talking about the portal, and I actually agree with this. The portal is fine. He said the portal is fine. He said the problem is the players don't have to wait a year to transfer.
Well, how is that a problem?
You don't see. I agree with. I mean,
that's not a problem.
But that's what's leading to that. So, Keith, when we were growing up, though, and again, I've
it
never
was
played
a problem
college
when
athletics,
we was growing up.
but when we're again, we view things as fans. So, where I'm coming, and Richard are coming at this is just as fans. So when we're talking, when we're growing up, me and Richard, I think I've met Richard before. Him and I know I've met Richard before. We're about the same height. Him and I are not. We were never once viewed as potential college athletes growing up. So, but what we viewed it as is, man, that's opportunity of a lifetime to play Division I college athletics.
College athletics
in general.
Right.
But I mean, my goodness, that is the dream right there. So now, as we sit and look at this, and we hear that, man, over the last 3 years, 20,000 college athletes. They were so miserable that they had to leave their current situation. That I just have a hard time believing that college athletics, which is fed to us as this amazing thing growing up, is so miserable that these kids have to constantly just leave after every year. The portal, at least the restriction of after you having to sit out a year. I mean, again, you're coming at it from a former athlete, so that's where that's we're coming at it from fans.
But is it always misery?
Yeah, I mean, not always. No. But when people always say, well, they got to do what's best for them. I get that, just like we have to do what's best for us. But, we're fans. You guys are robots to us.
It's
not right.
That's true.
And by the way, it's not right. But, I know you, so I don't look at you as a robot. Some of these athletes, me and Richard and some of these other fans, Richard said he's shorter than me, by the way. I don't know why you laugh so dang hard at that. That's kind of offensive, to be honest with you. But, yeah, no, it's just kind of
look at it this way. I know misery, covers a whole lot. It's a lot of areas. I mean, homesickness. I don't care if you're going to Columbus and you're from Dayton, Ohio. That could be too far from you. Or if you're from, Kentucky and, you go to school in Alabama, that could be too far. So homesickness does have a reason to people, leads to their misery. You're only 18 when you get to college. And a lot of times it's the first time you've been away from home. Yeah, you dreamed about going to college and playing on a big-time university, but man, I didn't realize it was this far. One of my final choices of college coming out, other than Ohio State, was Arizona State. I had a great time at Arizona State, but I'm like, I'm used to the distance is going to be different living out here in Phoenix if I decide to come here. But I'm like, how often is my parents going to be able to come here? This is before NIL deal. They might can save up enough money to come see twice in 4 years. Oh man, I really, love, looking in the stands there, my mother and father sitting over there, knowing that they're in the building. So that would have been a problem for me if I had went to Arizona State and been like, man, a long way from home. Everything's new. All my buddies just can't drive in the car and come see me, and we can just hang out. And how often will I be able to get back? So it's a lot of contributing factors, when, why guys, where people, transfer. But overall is misery. Misery covers a lot of front, but it's.
I don't think we'll ever be mutually agreeing, not me and you, but where everyone's on the same side on this, mainly because every point you bring up is valid. And then who's the star quarterback that's just entered the portal to play for his fourth team in 4 years now? He's in the portal for the fourth time now. He keeps it's a big name quarterback that hadn't panned out too much. It's driving me crazy, and I'm sorry that I'm spacing on it. But then fans like us, we see that. We're like, well, again, I don't get what I want. I'm out of here. I don't get what I want. I'm out of here. Then there's the homesick. Then there's the ones, the education I want. This is a better program over here, and I can still play football, and I'm closer to home. there's a lot of good reasons why kids do it, but then there's other people where it's like, well, the coach didn't say hi to me when I walked in the locker room today, so I don't want to play for him anymore. But it's interesting nonetheless. Clarence Raleigh said on Facebook, Kev, coaches don't have to wait a year, so why do players?
Yeah, he took the words out of my mouth. That's where I was going. He's exactly right.
I'm good. Thank you.
I'm going to want something, Jada, in a minute. She didn't hear me.
Yeah.
Well, you guys heard me. What should I order? I'm at Frickers. I can't choose anything wrong. Everything here is great, to choose from. I have something for lunch. But I'll let y'all, people at home, decide. Maybe they tweet in, what should I have today?
Real quick.
Because I'm eating some lunch.
I only disagree with the idea that the coaches could when you were at Ohio State, were you and your head coach equals?
No.
So why are we
No, I mean, we
equaling it
should
out
have
now?
been.
No, but I don't mean as humans, Keith. I
No,
just
no.
mean like as
No,
I know
I
what
thought-
you're
I
saying.
thought about football player
but
and
like
coach.
to me, a coach, that's their career. Lincoln Riley, Ryan Day, these guys, Nick Saban, they're going to be lifers in college football. College athletics, it's supposed to be a 4-year run. Then you get these guys like who just the Stetson Bennett is like 25 years old. Him and
26, isn't the same
25,
high
26
graduating class as Lamar
Yes.
Jackson?
I feel like there should be a cutoff on your age, by the way. Like, but no, like I don't know. I hear that coaches argument all the time, but again, your opinion on this is interesting just because you're a former player, and I'm curious your thoughts on that.
No. If coaches don't have to sit out, players shouldn't have to sit out. And so it is something that is long overdue, waiting. You sit and have to, you transfer and you got to sit out. Because it was so bad. It's, what about, it was a player that wanted to transfer back. I think even before he even started, it was after signing day. I think that summer a family member was sick and he wanted to be back home, near, I think it was either a parent or a grandparent that he wanted to be near. And the NCAA was like, no, you transfer back. Hey, tough. We're going to start to hear a whole lot of more, sicknesses and stuff. I'm like, that is so wrong. That is so wrong. He would have.
I know who you're talking about too. That was a basketball one, wasn't it?
It could have been.
I thought it was.
But I know it was sometime throughout the year he wanted to transfer closer to home, and it was like, no. That's like.
Richard Boyd says coaches should have to honor their contracts. And yeah, like this again, we'll go in circles, talk about all the. I think I don't know. Nonetheless, 8,000 players last year in the transfer portal. It's probably going to be higher this year. On day one of the portal last year, it was 600 players in the portal. 400 more players were in the portal day one today.
Yeah,
but
I think at my time at Ohio State, if we had the portal, I think we had, I can't remember exactly. I want to say we had 23 recruits in my recruiting class. If we'd have had the portal, I think within 2 years, we probably would have easily lost a third of that.
Well, think about all the.
You would lose a third of your recruiting class. We had 6 running backs in my recruiting class. Somebody would have transferred.
Look at the depth of running back right now. That's what's happened to Dallin Hayden and some of these guys. The other thing, too, is there's so much uncertainty about the future of not college football itself, but the future of some of these conferences. So, for instance, if you're a player in the ACC or the Big 12 or the Pac-12, you may be happy with your current situation, but you may not trust that your current situation is going to remain with how – who would have thought a year ago that we'd be talking about right now, last year at this time, who would have thought that we'd be talking about UCLA and USC as future Big Ten teams? We didn't know that a year ago at this time.
No.
We didn't, Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC. There's so much uncertainty that I think sometimes a lot of these players are like, well, I'm happy with where I'm at, but I also need to get to more stable land, to more stable ground. I trust the Big Ten. I'll go leave a better situation here at this school in the Big 12 to go to maybe a Purdue in the Big 10, just because the Big 10 is more stable as far as the future outlook is concerned. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. By the way, Jeff Brom.
Jeff Brom.
Leaving Purdue for the Louisville job. Are you surprised by that? He passed it up a couple years ago.
Well, he's a Louisville alumni. He's a former quarterback there. Is that a better job?
That's why I asked. And also leaving the Big Ten. That's why I brought up Purdue. I think Purdue is a safer job in the Big Ten. You get raises for being in the Big Ten championship game. You get raises for keeping it close with Ohio State or beating Ohio State. Where's at a certain point there's a ceiling over at Louisville. I thought it was interesting.
No, I think that's a good move for him.
For him. Okay.
Yes. He got in the Big Ten championship game, and at 8-4, he made the Big Ten championship game in the Big Ten West. How often is that going to happen?
So he's saying this is as high as, and I don't know how much higher with the raise or how much more he got paid, but I guess to your point, how much higher will his stock ever be? You just got to the Big Ten championship game. They're probably about to knock out divisions. Purdue will be a regular at the bottom.
You look over Purdue's season. They was 8-4. They easily could have been 9-3. Remember the first game they lost it to Syracuse? They blew that game. Giving Syracuse all those 15-yard penalties at the end of the game. That's 9-3. Maybe one or two games. They could have easily had a 10-win season. That's about as good as it's going to get at Purdue outside of catching lightning in the bottom, going 11. So I think him going to Louisville, is a good move for him because you get the right guys at the right time at Louisville. I mean, you just look at the last 20 years in the ACC. They haven't. When's the last time they had two dominant teams in the ACC? None. It's been Florida State and then Clemson, and now just nobody. So he has to go in there and recruit against Clemson's and Florida States and, North Carolina State. It's an easier path to the top at ACC.
Well, remember, Miami is always back for at least the summer months. And
yes,
then
exactly.
Football season gets you. So look out for Miami in the offseason, but you're safe come fall. So.
And, with his offense and the recruit, the players that he recruit, they're going to move to football Louisville.
Yep.
So, I hate to see him leave the Big Ten, but he's going to do great at Louisville. And he has a better chance to get into the ACC championship game and the college football playoffs at Louisville as opposed to being at Purdue, of doing that. Because college football playoffs expands in next year, 24.
24. So next year's the last year of the 14 playoffs.
Yeah, so he has a better chance of being top 12 at Louisville as opposed to being top 12 at Purdue. Because you top 12
look
at
at
Purdue.
TCU, for example. You have a better chance at Purdue being TCU than being Ohio State.
Correct.
And TCU's path was easier than Ohio State's. TCU didn't run into a Michigan. They didn't run into a number 2 team in the country.
Yes.
So,
it's
a good point.
Imagine in Big Ten, top 12, you got to be better than Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan State.
Yep.
Consistently, not once a year, consistently better than those programs. That's 5 right there.
All right, Justin Kenner, Keith Byars with you here. Last thing on college football, then I promise we're talking Browns-Bengals coming up. Lamar Shelley, how does Keith think Deion will do? We'll close out our college football conversation with the Deion conversation, Keith. It looks weird. Deion Sanders going to Colorado. Deion going anywhere is not weird. Colorado, though, is just a weird brand that from back in the day, it was not a weird brand. They were a dominant program back in the day.
Well, I don't know if we have enough time for me to go too deep into that.
You can
listen more.
Preview it for your show tomorrow. I know you're going to spend time on your show.
I'll say this: 3 years ago, when Deion took the job at Jackson State, one of the questions I asked, myself and asked some a lot of friends, Deion's going to Jackson State. How long do you think he's going to be there? How long is that going to last? It lasted 3 years. He's supposed to be there for 4. So now Deion's going to Colorado. Ask myself and my friends, I'm like, how long do you think Deion's going to be there? And the answer is simply, similar to this. He's taking over a program that's 1-11. How do I think Deion's going to do? I think he's going to do great. He's taking over a program that's 1-11.
You can only go up from there.
It can only go up. If I see them, they could probably haven't looked at their schedule next year, but in the recruits they bring in, but I believe they can go 6-6. 6-6 is a bowl game. That's a bowl game. And if you're a Colorado fan, you get a bowl game. Oh, your first year, Deion. Oh man, we're in a bowl game. Wow, who would have thought it this time last year? Now, year 2, why can't they win 8 to 9 games? That's 9-3, 8-4. And then USC and UCLA's leaving the conference. I don't know who's going to replace them just yet. But by year 3, Deion could be a 10-win season. And then when you were like, wow, 3 years ago, he took over a 1-11 program. And now they won 10 games? How did Deion do? Great. And then what will he be looking at? He's going to leave. Man, Colorado game, they're going to be upset. Colorado, he's going to leave Colorado. Man, look at it. He got him on the cusp of doing great things. They were 10-2. And then the better deal come through. He may want to go to the Big Ten and join UCLA. He may take over Chip Kelly's job.
Imagine prime time in LA.
And Lincoln Riley be battling in LA. He's like, man, it's a lot bigger pond than Boulder, Colorado.
Imagine Ohio State, Michigan, and UCLA, USC. Those two huge rivals in the Big Ten.
I could project that. I could say it. So to answer your question, he could do it.
And by the way, I mean, the expectation is, and we don't know what it is, obviously high expectations for him to succeed at Colorado, but the timetable, I think that the portal has kind of expedited expectations sometimes for coaches of, hey, now it's not like you have to rely on these high schoolers that you develop over the next couple of years.
Give me 4 years of my recruiting class. Get my 4 years, get me all guys I recruited.
Look at USC right now. I mean, they lost 2 games this year, and one was in the Pac-12 championship game. Yeah. They were a playoff team in year one. Not technically, they're not. You know what I'm saying? That they were a playoff contender right off the bat with Lincoln Riley.
Into December.
So, and by the way, USC was a lot further
last year when Lincoln Riley took the job in January, they were like, oh, you got to count them. They got a chance of, being in the playoffs. And they did.
Now, they were further along. Colorado's a little bit further behind, but I think it's fair to say in the next year or two,
Colorado in the bowl game next year, that would be a successful season.
So the schedule for Colorado next year, they open up at TCU. Okay,
0-1.
Yep, and then they at home against Nebraska. Matt Rule taking over Nebraska. Yep, and then Colorado State. That's a Michigan schedule right there.
Depends on what recruits. That's still a coin toss.
And then you're at Arizona State, Arizona, Oregon State, Stanford. I mean, I think it's going to be. It'll be a tough
We don't see
season.
Not one win yet. Not one depth. What is it? Hey,
that's a tough schedule,
man.
And credit to these teams like USC and UCLA,
what are their
Utah,
non-conference
Oregon.
games? Jeez, TCU and Nebraska.
Nebraska, Colorado State. Those are their non-conference.
Wow.
I feel like they have only 3 non-conference games.
Man, he better schedule something. He better drop again, spend some money, get out of one of them games.
I'd get out of that. I'd get out of that TCU one if you can.
We'll give y'all the money back.
Colorado, they don't even have the money to pay. Do you find it interesting that AD at Colorado said we don't even have the money to pay Dion, but we'll figure it out?
Figure it out, yeah. Figure that one out.
Bobby Carpenter always says that Urban Meyer had a saying at Ohio State when he was there, charge it to winning. Every time Urban Meyer wanted something, and Gene Smith said, I have to check the budget. He goes, just charge it to winning.
I like that.
So that's what Bobby Carpenter, I always hear him use that line. I'm always a big fan of it.
We better schedule Colorado School of Rodeo.
I was going to say,
they got a football team. Play them.
Play Hawaii.
Get a W.
Play the Michigan non-conference schedule.
Yes.
Just see if you get Hawaii on there with Colorado State and you're golden.
UConn.
Yep. All right, folks. Justin Kenner, Keith Byars, live at Frickers here in Miamisburg. It's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. All right, when we come back, Browns, Bengals, all NFL talk. I promise you, the final half hour of the show, all NFL talk. We'll preview some of the top Week 14 matchups, but we'll talk about whether or not Joe Burrow could put an end to the struggles he's had against the Cleveland Browns. Joe Burrow owns Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, but struggles with the Cleveland Browns and quarterback by committee. We'll talk about if that streak comes to an end coming up next right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
No, I know. I'm going to just do the.
I'm Faith Daniels, and we have the pleasure to chat with Blake Maislin, Mr. 444-4444. When accidents happen, who do we call?
Well, you call me. You call 444-4444, and you let us get started immediately.
That means a dog bite, a slip and fall, a car accident. Blake Maislin is the call to make.
That's exactly right. We'll come to your house. We'll go to the hospital room. But whatever we can do to help, that's exactly what we do starting on day one.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Blake Maislin, 444-4444, wantmore.com.
Calling all Ohio sports fans. Starting January 1st, you'll be able to bet on all your favorite sports teams with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive $200 in free bets when you sign up today using code WING1410. Plus, 5 lucky customers will receive a $100,000 free bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code WING1410 to get $200 in free bets to use once mobile sports betting hits Ohio. Plus, 5 customers will win a $100,000 free bet. That's code WING1410. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966. 21 and up. Physically present in Ohio. Eligibility restrictions apply. See terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regularity licensing requirements. 1 per new customer. $200 issued as a $25 free bet. No purchase necessary for sweepstakes. Void where prohibited. Ends first day DraftKings is allowed to operate in Ohio. See terms and official rules at dkng.co/OH.
Mode X Tequila Bistro, not your typical Mexican restaurant. Experience a sophisticated twist on the Tequila Bistro style of informal eating and drinking. Authentic Mexican food using quality ingredients from fresh pressed tortillas to house-made sauce and premium margaritas. Visit us for happy hour and enjoy our full-service bar. Televisions to view your favorite sporting event. Mode X Tequila Bistro in the Green for the best cuisine straight from the oven. Mode X Tequila Bistro for a fun, casual, and late-night dining experience.
Santa here. I used to shop online, but they don't have anything in stock. Now I go to the Hobby Shop, where I save money by getting fun and exciting gifts in stock from a locally owned small business that beats Amazon. The Hobby Shop near the Dayton Mall has the latest RC planes by E-Flight and the hottest radio control trucks from Axial. Want to go fast? The Hobby Shop has Arma RC cars in stock that go over 80 miles per hour. Keep your dollars local. Their shelves are stocked at the Hobby Shop, just north of the Dayton Mall, across the street from Lowe's. Call 436-6161.
You don't have to go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. People with chronic joint pain are getting real lasting relief from QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Keith Byars. QC Kinetics is a nation leader in advanced regenerative medicine. Their unique protocols use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue. Got shoulder pain, excruciating hip pain? If you have any arthritis pain or lingering pain from an injury, don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids. And say no to the pain pills. Call QC Kinetics and see if their life-changing, all-natural treatments can get you living your best life in the new year. I'm telling you, people are raving about these treatments. This is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as the next week. Make 2023 the year you say goodbye to joint pain. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byars Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kenner, Keith Byars back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Keith, what's funny is we're just talking about, and by the way, we'll keep it here with the NFL talk, but talked about Deion Sanders and obviously what kind of job he's going to do already within the first couple of days of taking the Colorado job. He was able to get a top recruit to flip from Notre Dame to Colorado in their number 156 overall.
Let the games begin.
Yep. Dylan Edwards, a top running back in the 2023 class, has flipped from Notre Dame to Colorado.
Wow.
So there you go. Dylan Edwards is his name. So there's that.
So Deion said, I don't care who out there.
Yeah.
I don't care. Your logos on the helmet doesn't bother me. I'm coming at all the recruits I can get.
We talked about the portal earlier. He basically walked in that locker room and told everybody he's bringing his own luggage.
Bringing Louis.
He told his son to stand up. He said, "Meet your new quarterback." And by the way, people.
Is that a low-key NCAA violation?
I mean, I'm sure, right? They'll pick and choose who they want to go after, right? But what's funny is the interesting thing about all of that is like so many people had a problem with it,
and I didn't have a problem with it.
Well, mainly because, like we all knew when he brought his son over, that was the quarterback. Why do we get offended when people say things that we know are true? And when he introduced his, he lost the locker room. He told the whole locker room to transfer. He was bringing in his own guys. I mean, come on. Like he said, it's Colorado. You won one game. Deion, it's not like it was Colorado full of talent and Deion's going to come and win with the talent that would. No, they were one team for a reason.
He wasn't talking. He was talking to the whole team, but he wasn't talking to the whole team. You know who he was talking about. You know, if you haven't been getting the job done, you know he's talking to you. You know, so you can stay there because they can't take your scholarship away outside of doing some conduct detrimental to the team. But you know, you kind of know. You know, I mean. Nobody likes to hear it, but it's a dose of reality. You know, but that also goes into the number we talked about earlier in the guys. I mean, guys going to the portal. But Deion just happened to be on TV when he did it. I mean, you look at Ohio State last year, they hired a whole new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball except for one position. I know for a fact that they told some of the guys, it's a good time for you to go in the portal. You're not going to play here.
Well, Deion, this is a perk. This is a plus and a minus for him. NFL talk, I promise. Last thing, I'm just fascinated by this Deion thing.
That's NFL. Deion's in the NFL.
Deion has his own camera crew. There's Rolando rolling in, by the way.
Yeah.
Deion has his own camera crew, Keith, that follows him everywhere. That's constantly filming. So that wasn't on TV as far as like he knew he was on that. The camera's always rolling.
He's his own brand.
So he released that video. So there's going to be perks, like people are going to be watching live and tuning in for it. And then others are going to grab it and want to use it against Deion. But Deion, again, is used to the noise. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's working for him. It's worked for him for over 30 plus years of his, professional life being seen since since 89 when he was in the draft. But even, back to his Florida State days, it's been around. It's a circus. I remember when Deion, free agency, when I was in Miami, when he was on his tour trying to figure out what team he was going to sign with. I have a picture. I'm on the pregame warm-ups, and Deion comes up to me and he was like, "Man, should I come to Miami? What's it like here?" I'm like, "Dude, we could use you. You're from Florida." So we had a nice conversation. He ended up signing with San Francisco, but I got it. I understood. When he was a free agent with the Falcons, and he was like, taking my talents out of Atlanta. I've been good to you. I'm going. I need to win a Super Bowl, and I'm like, damn, you come here, you can help us win the Super Bowl. So when he went to 49ers, that won the Super Bowl. Next year, hey, I'm going to Dallas. One there. I was like, hey, what do you do?
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
He was transfer portal free agent before it was big, right? So,
yes, indeed.
All right, Justin Kenner, Keith Byars with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio, live at Frickers here in Miamisburg. Rolando, Bengals fan, Rolando, I like you most days, but I don't today because I can't wait to see you be miserable coming up here later on this afternoon. I mean that with all due respect, of course.
The Battle of Ohio.
Yeah, Browns, Bengals coming up. As Browns 5-7, Bengals 8-4. The Browns have won the last 5 straight matchups against the Bengals, 4 straight over Joe Burrow and company. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow and 4 against the Cleveland Browns. Just let you know. Just want to remind you. I don't know if you know that or not. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, what is interesting, though, is the fact that this was a 6-point line. I don't know if you could follow the spreads and everything throughout the week, Keith, but a 6.5-point line earlier in the week. And now as we sit here just 20
that
minutes.
picture I was telling you about.
Oh, you and Deion.
Yeah.
Yep, you and Deion.
Yeah, he went to San Francisco that year.
Yeah, you weren't a good recruiter. You weren't a good recruiter, apparently. But Browns, Bengals, a 4-point favorite coming up here as they have the Browns at home. They lost the last one back on Halloween against the Browns and Jacoby Brissett. This is interesting. I know people were talking about this earlier in the week when you want to talk about the fact that the Browns kind of own the Bengals the way that the Bengals own the Chiefs. I've made the argument. I don't think that the Bengals own the Chiefs. The Bengals have won 4 straight 3-point games over the Chiefs. That means they've had the ball last against the Chiefs 3 straight. They haven't dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. I look at this and I say, well, the Browns have dominated Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow is an MVP caliber quarterback. He took his team to a Super Bowl last year, but there is just something about this Browns team and defensive makeup and maybe scheme, Keith, that he just plays his worst games against. The Browns dominate Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I don't know how confident I feel in the Browns' chances of winning today's game are, because the Bengals are playing really, really good football, and what I saw from Deshaun last week doesn't have me feeling too cocky about the Browns' chances to beat the Bengals today. But as we head into this matchup, it's big for a lot of reasons. The Browns are in the playoff hunt. They're 5-7. They beat the Bengals today. That means they're a game back of Cincinnati. That means 2 games back of Cincinnati, and they're back in the playoff hunt for that 7th seed. This is a big one for Cleveland, but a big one for Cincinnati, because if Baltimore loses today without Lamar Jackson against the Steelers, the Bengals hold on to first place, and they're inching closer and closer to potentially being the 1 seed out of the AFC for the playoffs. So a big one today in Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a must-have game, and it's funny how the NFL is not college football, where there's just so much more talent. It's so hard for another team to beat you. The movie, depicts it best. Any given Sunday, anybody can win. There's that much talent on the football field at all the time, and it takes me back to my NFC East days. When I was with the Eagles, it was in our division. It was the Eagles, the Giants, Washington, Dallas, and Arizona, and 3 of us used to beat each other. The Eagles used to beat the Giants. The Giants used to, we would usually sweep them, and the Giants would sweep Washington, and Washington swept us a few times more than I care to mention. But we all beat Dallas and we all beat Arizona.
The ones that matter.
Yeah, we beat them. But you're like, how can we beat the Giants and the Giants beat the Washington and Washington beats us? It's just matchup. So it's like, how do the Bengals, everybody beats the Browns except the Bengals. He's like, how do they have our number? What are we doing wrong? It's just each game is unique and it's different. It goes a different way. But today, I'm picking the Bengals to beat the Browns in my knockout season number 1. I'm really
that's
nervous.
A good pick. That's you putting your money where your mouth is.
I'm putting my money. So even though we used to dominate the Giants, we used to beat them. They used to beat us sometime. And, Washington should dominate us. We still beat them sometime. I'm hoping this is one of those sometime games, for the Bengals to beat the Browns. And then it's only a small, for Joe Burrow, it's only a small body of work. He's only in year 3, and he didn't even he missed one of the games against the Bengals. Right? He hadn't played against them 5 times, right?
He's 0 for 4 in the games he's played in. He's 0
but
for
his
4.
team is 0 for 5, so that counts.
Yep.
So he's got to get something in that left column. And then the right column has 5 L's in it. He got to get something in the W column, and I think today is the day he goes get it.
Well, one point that I made earlier in the week is, yes, it's a big deal for the Bengals to have to get this win today, but they've proven, look, they got to a Super Bowl last year and lost both to Cleveland. Do they need to beat Cleveland to accomplish what they need to? No, they don't. But at the same time, right now, you're competing for the 1 seed out of the AFC. Last year you made the playoff. It was just a accomplishment to make the playoff, but this year it's like, okay, we want to win the division and we want the 1 seed and we want home field advantage. I've always made fun of the Bengals, attendance for a long time, but, I felt that home field advantage the other night. When I watched that Chiefs-Bengals game, I felt that home field advantage. I felt Paycor Stadium rocking through the TV screen. The fans are loud. They are invested
I can't remember
now.
Because I was out of town last week. Did the Bengals have their white jerseys on?
They did what did they do last? No. It was the
only time they've done whiteout against the Dolphins so far, right, this year.
They did a whiteout 2 weeks ago. The Titans, right? I think they broke it out against the Titans. They did the Dolphins on the Thursday
they went to
night
Tennessee,
football.
Though.
Yep.
Yeah, but they need to say them whiteout jerseys maybe again for the playoffs, because they are playing extremely well in those jerseys. And, I know it's pro, but sometimes make it a college atmosphere, and they're 2-0 in the whiteout jerseys.
So, and the fans today are going to be loud at Paycor Stadium, of course. And I think, this rivalry that is the Browns and the Bengals as we sit here right now, this is kind of the start of the new era of this rivalry, because the quarterback of the long future for the Browns that they've invested a ton of money into, Deshaun Watson, is back. So, we talked about the Browns-Bengals. It hasn't been Joe Burrow against a particular quarterback. Joe Burrow's struggles against the Browns have been against Baker Mayfield. It's been against, Jacoby Brissett. I'm missing who was the backup quarterback for the Browns. I'm missing here too, but it really hasn't mattered who the quarterback of the Browns is. Yeah. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have struggled. Yeah. So now you get Deshaun Watson, who's the best of all the quarterbacks that Joe Burrow is going up against. And this is how weird football is. That means that they'll probably win today. The best quarterback that he has faced in Cleveland will be the one that he beats today. But
it's unfair to, I know for the Browns fans who are listening, when a quarterback has to sit out 11 weeks, it's
2 years technically.
and, you know, and you're going to get at best, you're going to get glimpses of what Deshaun Watson is. You're going to get glimpses of greatness and glimpses of horribleness, or maybe last week a lot of bad. But more often than not, I think, you know, you're going to have to wait till next year to truly judge how good the trade is, you know, going to be for Deshaun Watson.
Nope, don't worry, Rolando. You're going to see just how good this trade is coming up here. Thank you so much. What's that?
Yeah. So like we said, one game doesn't change everything, and that's going to be a rivalry we hope to see more of in the next 5 to 10 years. Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson. That's why the Browns wouldn't got it.
Well, I like the fact that
they
these
want
two
to see
teams,
them to go at it twice a year.
These two teams
for a long time.
These two teams playing now, Browns Bengals. This is not for who's going to finish in last in the division. Although, by the way, if the Browns lose today,
we've seen that too many times in the past.
But what's ironic is the Browns, if they lose today and the Steelers win today against a Lamar Jackson-less Ravens team, the Browns will be in last place. So there's their ironic spin to it. But today, the Browns, they win. They're moving one game up in the playoff picture. They're just on the outside.
But they got to go perfect to have a shot.
Yeah.
Yep. Here on out. There's no more. You know, trap doors.
You're not going to get their winning
games.
Games.
They start looking at the draft. What number are we going to get in the draft?
Well, none, because they don't have any draft picks. So, they gave them all up to go get Deshaun. So, as we, a big one coming up today. There's so many factors of how to really get a feel for what this game is. You know, if Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback of the Browns right now, I'm not guaranteeing a Browns win, but I feel more confident as the Browns can kind of play to who they are. Amari Cooper, though, the one thing that we got earlier in the week, Amari Cooper injured his hip. He practiced lightly throughout the week. I have not seen whether or not he is officially in or out for today's game, but it will be interesting to see the impact that he has. You didn't have to bring the one wing, but thank you. Thank you. But Lamar Shelley, Keith, he chimes in on Facebook. He goes, Deshaun is going, nope, I'm not going there with that. I got to read those before I go on there. Never mind. Don't worry about what
I'll just read it. I won't say it out loud.
Lamar, just so you know, the jokes about some of those things make you even as bad as what actually happened. I don't know what, I'm just saying, the people drive me nuts with the jokes about everything. Because, they're supporting guys that have done crazy things on the Bengals like Joe Mixon and some of these other guys, but they can compartmentalize that. But when it comes to the Browns, oh my goodness, we got to bring those up. These people drive me crazy.
That's not right.
So
let's keep it classy.
Yeah, you want to talk about the matchup itself? Let's go. If you want to make fun of the, off the field stuff, I have a laundry list of things I can go at the Bengals for. So we could do this all day. All right, Justin Kinner, Keith Byars with you here live at Frickers in Miamisburg. We'll step away. We'll give you our picks for some of the top matchups around NFL Week 14. That's how we'll close up the show. Don't go anywhere. More of the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live from Frickers in Miamisburg when we come back.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
A new year and a new career. KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings, second shift production associates, and equipment technicians. Material handling experience is a plus. This is an excellent new opportunity that offers an attractive benefit package, medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at $19.75 per hour with annual increases. KTH is hosting open interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Visit kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Save big and connect for your holiday with Smart Electrician surge protectors and power strips at Menards. Plug in, recharge, and relax with the peace of mind you get from choosing Smart Electrician. Our surge protectors are designed with safety in mind, with features including built-in resettable circuit protectors and child safety covers. Power up your Christmas lights this holiday season and save big money on Smart Electrician power strips and surge protectors at Menards.
Warm season's greetings to you all from Menards.
Gah, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
I'm Tamron Hall. Why give your family just ordinary eggs when they can enjoy the best? Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition compared to ordinary eggs. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat, and 38% more lutein. Because the way we care is anything but ordinary. Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired their personal trainer as a caterer.
All right, folks, let's keep this line moving. You there with the tongs. Picking up one Duchess potato at a time will not cut it at my catering table. Drop and give me 50.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Okay, this is what we call the wild mushroom and asparagus dip, and press. Come on, let's get those plates above your heads.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
'Tis the season for big savings on HP Tech at Staples. This week, save $100 on an HP Smart Tank 7301 refillable printer. The HP Smart Tank makes printing worry-free with up to 2 years of HP original ink included. From black and white docs to color prints, this wireless printer allows ultimate flexibility for busy families. And now save even more when you bundle an HP printer, PC, and monitor. The latest tech solutions are at Staples, the working and learning store. Offer good in-store and online. Ends 12/17.
On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner.
This will be a
on
quick
Twitter.
one, in and out.
1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Keith Byars back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Kinner and Byars again live here at Frickers here in Miamisburg. We only have a couple of minutes.
It's almost kickoff time.
Yeah, almost get Browns Bengals coming up again. Deshaun Watson against Joe Burrow. Browns Bengals Battle of Ohio coming up here. Big one, obviously. We've been talking about this rivalry, if you will, for quite some time. Excited that the game is finally here, especially with the top 2 quarterbacks. Now, not the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Deshaun Watson's still trying to, to come back. But top 2 quarterback, I mean, like the Browns' top quarterback against the Bengals' top quarterback now. So last week, though, Deshaun Watson completed 12 of 22 passes, 131 yards and a pick. It was not pretty. But, we talked about, how long it's going to take for him to kind of get his rhythm back. He missed the last 2 years, not due to injury, but still away from the game. How long do you think before we start to see the Deshaun Watson of 2020, a guy that's only 27 years old, Keith?
Well, I think it's going to be, you're going to see traces of him for all of 2022. And you'll see the real Deshaun Watson next year. With one off season with no hiccups, hopefully, and then a real preseason.
Thank you.
And then a regular season. You'll see who Deshaun Watson really, truly is, next year. But this year is this year. Remember, that's the future. The future is right now. If you're a Cleveland Brown fan, you want to see Deshaun Watson be that guy you signed in offseason, to see the guy that you terrorized you when he was in Houston. That's who you want to see today if you want to go out here and beat the Bengals. That's who you're going to need.
Yeah, the Bengals have lost 4
Can't
straight.
rely on the defense scoring 14 points for you this week.
The Bengals have lost 4 straight against the Bengals, but they've won 4 straight games this season. In fact, their last loss was against the Cleveland Browns. So if they win today, it'll be their first 5-game win streak since 2015. Of course, talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Browns looking to keep that dominance going. Joe Burrow for 4. Will he be Joe Burrow for 5 after today?
Not
we'll
today.
Find out.
Not
You're picking
today.
the Bengals.
I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals. Even though I grew up a Cleveland Browns fan, I'm going with the Bengals today.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick the Browns. I picked the Bengals earlier in the week, but I feel like the Browns are going to come away with this one 30. I think it's going to be a close one, 31-27. I think the Browns come away 31-27. Still think Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow will play his best game against the Browns today that we've seen him play because he's struggled against the Browns. I think we see the best game from Joe Burrow against the Browns in this series, but I think the Browns come out on top. I think they rely on that run game. I think Deshaun. I think they're not going to ask too much of Deshaun. I think they're going to kind of manage his dropbacks, of course, but also he could take advantage of his ability to make plays with his legs.
Yeah, we haven't really seen that out of him.
Yeah. And we started to see a little of it towards the end of Houston, but at the end of the day, that was Houston. This is a very, very good Bengals defense, one that I've been very impressed with for the last 2 years, that's for sure. All right, folks, Browns-Bengals coming up, kickoff at 1. That wraps it up for us. You could tune into the Keith Byars Show tomorrow at noon right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. And you can catch us live right back out here at Frickers next week for Week 15 action. It's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show live at Frickers here in Miamisburg on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Traveling, volunteering, spending time with family. What's your retirement look like?